Time he didn't play, but as life evolves over time, I was in New York one day, and a friend of mine named Ogugua Iwelu, who is also Fela's protege, called me in New York and said, "Sowore, where are you?" I said, I'm in New York. Said, "Can you drive to Manhattan? There's an off-Broadway show going on, and I want you to come and announce Fela there." So I drove down, I wore a Sahara Reporters t-shirt. I got in there, I said they should paint my face like Fela's face, and I grabbed the mic and started talking, and then and I sang Water, which was my favorite, and No Get Enemy, which was the opening play. I mean, opening play they use in the which sometimes we sing as Ogogoro Laniko Mora Igbolulo Muwa. That's how we used to sing it in the shrine in those days. So when we're done, they called me back and said, "Would you like to come back and perform Fela on this Broadway show?" I've never heard about Broadway before. I said, "What does it?" So I went and started doing voice lessons. I was traveling in California. I went and did voice lessons because they gave me some of the tracks that they want me to play. I think the one that was supposed to play is Confusion Breakbone or something like that. No, Scatter Scatter. So I did it, and I came for the audition in New York to play Fela on Broadway. Yes. So so after I did my audition, the guy said, "Well, you have the mannerism, but you don't know how to sing." And that was how I wasn't Fela on Broadway. Fela on Broadway eventually became huge.
Yeah, I saw it. I actually went on Broadway.
Yeah, so I didn't get the job, but I was one of their small-time consultants and media, and so I brought Shoyinka. So I used to bring like major Nigerian personalities there. I saw Abike Dabiri there. I didn't know you came, but a lot of people came. It was supposed to be for a few weeks. It lasted. It didn't go away. It was a hit. Everybody was talking about Fela on Broadway, and later on, I think the band for it, he didn't get the role, so it didn't make me feel bad, because if the band can't get it, who am I? So, in a nutshell, that's my history with Fela.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, your history is very rich. Looking from the outside, you are a very, very busy person. Every day there's something new happening in your life. And I know, you have lived life to the fullest, but there are still a few things left for you to do. This is just a one-line answer that I want.
Yeah.
Well, you were a former presidential aspirant.
Candidate, actually.
Would you consider candidate? Okay, yes. Candidate. Yeah. I don't know.
I was candidate twice.
Would you consider? Okay. Would you consider doing it again, following your experiences? You don't need to go into the details, but would you consider doing it again, following your experience of the democratic process?
No, in my view, this is actually the time for the kind of ideas we are having today.
Okay.
And so I would be happy to serve Nigeria in the best possible capacity.
It doesn't have to be. You don't have to be president. You can see you're serving Nigeria anyway.
I'm already serving Nigeria now, but
Would you consider being a part of any government?
No, considering that I have not seen a government in my lifetime that I can be part of. I mean, I'm not
talking of the past. I'm
searching my conscience very well. That's why I presented myself in such a way that I will be in a strategic position to make all the changes and put all the ideas that I have in place. If I were to be a sub-10, I'm going to end up sucking. I'm going to be terrible at it because
No. Why don't you consider just making your own contributions? Because Bill Clinton once told me, he said, "Look, as an individual, you cannot change the world, but you should always aspire to make a big difference. Even if you are president, you won't be perfect. You will try.
You may not be able to change the world, but also don't let the world change you into what you are not."
Oh, okay. I see your point.
Yes.
I see your point. So let's go back to our volleyball. That's where we started from.
Yes.
Let's go back. What's your impression about the African Volleyball Women's Club Championship? You were there a couple of times,
yes,
and I saw that you sat there and you thoroughly enjoyed yourself. What do you think of the general organization and the man himself who was behind it, Adewale Adeniyi? What do you think of that whole complexion?
Anytime you see me at a public event, be it sports, protests, I'm like a technical consultant. I'm a technical person. I'm always looking at what is technical about it. I'm also clairvoyant about it as well. Like, I'm looking futuristically. One thing I found very interesting about it, is that the African teams and I'm surprised that most Nigerians didn't go and watch this, by the way. I think there's poor publicity about it because it's such an interesting thing to watch. Is how those other African countries that came have gotten themselves well-roundedly organized in their participation and their focus. I looked at, the Egyptians. I was there when I think the Tunisians play. I was there when the Rwandans play. You could tell that they don't joke with a full array of officials who are dealing with them. For instance, the Zamalek girls, they have 4 or 5 coaches seated on their coaching crew. And then they have people standing on both sides. Those are the ones who determine when there should be timeout. They will do like this to the coaches because they're watching the Nigerian side or whomever is their opponent and also doing technique. And then I realized that everything they were doing there, they were recording. Which means that when they are done, they probably take all their team members back and say, you must watch where you did well and where you sucked. And another thing I realized, which is kind of political, in my view, that's why I said I'm always looking at different angles, is each time somebody served and didn't serve well in their service, the coach pulls the person out, especially the Zamalek. If you hit the ball and it doesn't go over, you're out right there.
Wow.
You are replaced. And that was, for me, very political. And also military strategy. They also do that in the state of Israel. Any general that can win the war they're involved in is pulled out. This commander that can pass through a difficult mine is pulled out. And I think I learned a lot of that, different from how the Nigerian side kind of organized. And, I don't want to make Nigeria the butt of my criticism all the time. But I think since they were there, they could learn a thing or two from how these guys take their job seriously. And that made a difference in their winning streak. You could tell, you could tell as you're looking at them that they look at the other side, their opponents, and see who is the weakest person to serve to. But when you detect they have a weak person, they'll do a timeout and replace the person.
Wow.
Yes.
So it's all about strategy.
It was strategy, and it made all the difference. And you see the coaches, one coach is always standing, or two. They don't play. But on our side, our bench, was full of, bench warmers, as we used to call them. So, and this conversation was also going on our side, with everybody that we sat together. By the way, it was my first time of meeting Adeniyi. The reason why actually he sat next to me is what I do when I go to events. I decide to sit where I want to sit. So his people came and said, "Oh, Oga is sitting here." I said, "When Oga arrives, tell him to sit where there's availability of seats." So when he arrived, he just came and sat there, and they had known me, so they said, "Please leave Mr. Sowore alone." There are a lot of DSS guys there, so we know ourselves. We're customers. So I just told them, please, don't be reserving seat for people who are not available. Because it happened the last time I went there, they reserved like 6 seats. Nobody came to sit there. We should stop that. If people don't, I'm not saying there should not be VIP sections, but if the VIPs are not coming, every other person who's around that needs a seat becomes a VIP. But that's one culture that we have to deal. But what I find is that those guys they came to play. And that made a lot of difference. And you could tell from the results we're getting. The Kenyans too, by the way, my goodness. You could also see that I think the Kenyans also were like highly organized, very well organized. And I think they have 2 teams. One was better than the other. But for me to have understudied them to the point that I can tell you what was going on, you could tell that I really paid attention to it. I'm paying attention to it not just from enjoying it, but also from looking at it on how some of the strategies they were using there I could apply even in my own real life.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Omoyele Sowore, it's a great pleasure having you on tonight's show. So I would like to just take final words from you on today's show, your thoughts as you leave, the message for the young people of Nigeria, and anything else but politics.
Well, I sleep, wake, and breathe politics. I eat politics because all of us are political animals. And as we have had this conversation over time, I've come to appreciate one thing, that discussions of any kind are important, whether they're political, whether they're about our health. But at the end of the day, we are all aspiring towards a single goal: to make our country a better place.
Wow, very good.
That's the goal. It's and I tell this whenever I'm arrested. When all the arrest garagara is over, I call the guys who are supposed to interrogate me. I educate them first. I say, look, I know you were asked to do this, but wouldn't it be better if we live in a country where we don't hate ourselves, where you don't have to grab me by my trouser in publicly to humiliate me simply because I have an opinion that is different from the man you are protecting? Why can't you think of me as a person to be protected too? But for the young people who are out there, I deal with Nigerian young. I relate with Nigerian young people in 2 ways, just like yourself. I describe you as a multi-generational being. You inspired us. There are people that you inspired who are probably on the 3rd generation. Like their father, they have had another child, and the child has had. Probably you are 4th now, because I'm 3rd generation person. And the guys I went to school, their children have had kids, and I meet them and they say, "Oh, I'm son or daughter of your classmate," and there's a 3rd person. You are 4th or 5th. So I relate with Nigerian youths in 2 ways. One is for them to understand that nobody's going to be youth forever. And so it's a phase. The second aspect is to also praise their resilience, because unlike our time, where we had parents who catered for us, who were on top of our businesses, Nigerian young people are taking care of them. You are the breadwinner of that parent. And the way the world is working, the way technology has taken over our lives, also means that you have to teach your parents a lot of things they don't know. It used to be that our parents knew everything and taught us. It's now that we knew everything and you are teaching them. So the burden on an average Nigerian youth is a lot. They have to do a lot to survive, to go to school, to understand the world.
in, but raise your voice. Let's see if we can take it.
I want to appreciate and appreciate bringing apart from football, people to understand apply activity. People want to give him more as it's able to support to recognize the people want to admit the benefits of the poor. Thank you very much. As I tell you to apply, but I don't have much. Partnership what shall be able to do that but apply a lot. I think that this is good. Thank you for bringing this idea. And thank you for this. The people's not to
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I didn't hear all of that, but I'm sure that was positive. He was thanking us for bringing you, Omoyele Sowore, probably one of the most misunderstood Nigerians, but your message is clear, and you have just shown a totally different side of you, that you are human, you are truly Nigerian, you are a patriot, you love the country, and we love you. So on that note, I will want to once again thank all those that have made today's show a success. Eagle 7 Sports Radio, coming to you live from our studios in Wasimi, near Abeokuta. Join me again next week, Saturday, when we bring you another edition of 90 Minutes Mathematica. But for now, all roads lead to the main goal, the Indoor Sports Hall of the National Stadium, NKO Abiola National Stadium in Abuja. We'll be there tomorrow to crown what has been a successful week of volleyball. Until then, bye for now.
Thank you, sir.
Extended sale.
We need to talk to people.
Yes, guys, I've been on the show with Segun Odegbami, the mathematical Segun Odegbami, prolific soccer player of those days when we were growing up. He used to play for what is now Super Eagles, used to call it Green Eagles. So it's been some 90 minutes of talking to him, except for the period that we had to break down our network system here. It's always a pleasure to join you on TikTok, and I would have taken one or two people to join me, but we have events that are coming up and we have to get prepared for it. But we'll be back, if not today, tomorrow, to have our session. Thank you so much, and enjoy this Saturday and the rest of the weekend. Talk to you soon. Aluta continua Victoria Asatas.